Hi, I'm Morven and we're filming at Wild Horse Yoga in Bristol. This is a short video for gently strengthening and bringing awareness to the pelvic floor. So as always, when you're practicing, stay within your pain-free range of motion, listen to your body and enjoy your practice. Let's begin lying on the back. So if you just come to lie with your knees bent and have your knees just pointing up towards the ceiling, so the feet are standing onto the floor. And just let the soles of the feet, the back of the pelvis, the backs of the shoulders, the back of the head, just rest easily on the ground. Bring your awareness now down into the pelvic floor region. So it's a diamond-shaped hammock of muscle between the pubic bone and the tailbone. And to make it a bit easier to visualize, you could make this mudra with the hands, so bringing the index fingers and the thumbs together. So this is roughly the shape of the muscle group that we're working with. And just hands can rest onto the belly here or rest onto your sides. So with awareness into the pelvic floor, just imagine that you're cutting that diamond shape in two to make two triangles. And bring your awareness now into the front part of the pelvic floor, so the area between the perineum and the pubic bone. And notice any sensation there. And gently engage, so you're just going to very gently squeeze the muscles in the front half of the pelvic floor. So we're not looking for strength here, we're more looking for the neuromuscular connection, so looking to isolate that muscle group. And then release, gently engage and release. And just continue with this engage and release of the front half of the pelvic floor with minimal involvement of the back half of the pelvic floor. So if the back half is getting involved, then just decrease the intensity of the movement. And we'll just do two more like that. And it really doesn't matter if you're not feeling anything, if you're not feeling any movement or any muscles engaging, that's okay. Just keep your awareness there. And the brain is sending those messages, and soon the muscles will start to respond. Now taking the attention into the back half of the pelvic floor, so the area in between the perineum and the tailbone. And again, just gently engage and release. Engage and release. So we're not looking for strengthening here, we're looking at isolating those muscles, building that connection between the brain and the muscle group. Good, and take a rest. So we'll just place the hands onto the fronts of the hips now. The fingertips are going to rest on the fronts of the hips. Engage from the back to the front of the pelvic floor. And flatten the lower belly down, just imagining that I've placed a glass of water on your lower belly and you don't want to spill it, so you're making a platter out of the lower belly. Mentally connect these two muscle groups, so pelvic floor and lower abdominal muscles, and lift your right knee, raising the right foot away from the ground. The shin is going to go parallel to the ground and the knee will be just above the hip. Now without moving the pelvis, slowly lower that right foot down, which is easier said than done. Lowering the foot is easy, keeping the pelvis still takes some concentration. And we're going to do the same on the left side without moving the pelvis, so you're holding that movement from your center. The pelvic floor muscles, the lower abdominal muscles are keeping the pelvis absolutely steady. And we'll just march from one side to the other, raising one knee and then the other. And the more slowly you move, the more awareness you'll be able to build in the muscles. You'll be able to notice the compensations in the body. Typically the waist muscles want to pick up where the pelvic floor muscles don't want to work, and also the neck muscles can want to get involved here as well. And as much as you can, bring that control right into the center of the pelvis. And let's just do one more. Slowly, keeping the pelvis absolutely still. If you get any back pain in this movement, just stop. And then come back to it another time. It just means that your lower back is working instead of your pelvic floor. So we're going to roll over onto one side now and come all the way up to seated. And we're going to sit with the legs wrapped around to the left, with the right foot sitting at the top of the left thigh. Place your right fingertips behind you and bring your left hand to rest onto your right knee. Okay? So it doesn't matter if that right sitting bone is lifting up a little bit away from the ground, that's okay. So on your next inhale, lift the left sitting bone, turn towards the right and gaze over your right shoulder. And then exhale, bring the left hip back down to the earth, and we're going to turn back to face towards the front. Inhaling, lifting and turning. Bring that movement right up from the pelvic floor. So as you inhale, lift the pelvic floor all the way up to the crown, and then exhale, come back down, resting the base of the body back onto the earth. Let's do that one more time on the right side, and then exhaling to come all the way back down. Let's change sides. So we're going to wrap the legs around to the right this time. The sole of the foot's going to rest at the top of the right thigh. Left fingertips will rest behind you, and the right hands will just lightly rest onto the left knee. As you inhale, lift the pelvic floor, lift the belly. So the abdomen is floating up out of the pelvis. As you exhale, bring the right sitting bone to rest down onto the earth. Let's do that a few more times, moving with the breath. So if this were a dance between the body and the breath would be leading the dance. Let's just do that one more time. Inhaling from the pelvic floor all the way up to the crown. And then exhaling all the way down, back down to the root. Lovely. We're going to come all the way back down now onto the mat. So let's come and lie down. Place your arms at your sides. I'm going to rock the pelvis back and forth a little bit here. So let's begin by flattening the lower back to the ground. And as you flatten the lower back and remove the space between the lower back and the earth, the tailbone will lift very slightly and the navel will condense down towards the spine. And then as you draw the tailbone back, lift the navel, you'll create some space behind the lower back. And then we'll move with the breath again. So as you exhale, there's a natural contraction in the body. Let's go with that. Contracting the navel back towards the spine. And then as you inhale, softening the pelvic floor, reaching the tailbone back into the earth and lifting the navel. And let's just do that one more time. Exhaling, the tailbone lightly lifts, the core gently engages, and then inhaling, drawing the tailbone back, letting the navel float towards the ceiling. And then just rest for a while in your neutral spine. So we'll keep the arms resting at the sides. Press the heels firmly down into the earth. And just imagine your heels are glued to the mat. So they're not actually going to move, but they're going to drag back towards your hips. And now lifting the tailbone up away from the earth again, flattening the lower back to the ground. Feel the core engage, so those pelvic floor muscles, the lower abdominal muscles are working here as you peel the spine up away from the ground. Coming into just a low bridge pose, this one. So we're working more with what's going on in the lower body. Don't worry too much about stretching out the upper back in this variation. So press the shins towards the wall in front of you, so the tops of the thighs lengthen, and then press the tailbone down. So you're lengthening the tailbone down into the space between the thighs. Now keeping the abdomen strong, the pelvic floor muscles engaged to support the lower back. We're going to slowly come down, rolling the spine back down onto the earth. And just take a little rest there. We're going to come into our final pose now. So this is more of a resting pose, and you'll need a couple of props. So I'm going to be using bolsters. If you don't have bolsters, then you can just use a couple of cushions or pillows or rolled blankets or yoga blocks. You get the idea. Anything that's going to support the outer thighs. So bring the soles of the feet together And then bring your support so they're tucked in underneath the thighs here. And we're not going for the stretch in this pose, we're going for the breadth across the front of the pelvis and into the inner thighs. So don't challenge yourself too much. If it's a strong stretch, just take more elevation underneath the outer thighs. So the arms can rest at the sides, or if you prefer, they can just rest lightly onto your belly. And just let the knees drop away from each other. Again, bring your awareness down to the base of the body. Back down into that diamond-shaped hammock of muscle that we call the pelvic floor, working hard to support all of our internal organs. And just letting the pelvic floor area now soften and broaden. And we're going to come into some abdominal breaths here. So as you inhale, you might feel there's a natural lifting and expansion around the abdomen. We're going to bring that expansion all the way down into the pelvic floor area. So there's a sort of blossoming of the belly and the pelvic floor on the inhale. And through the exhale, there's that subsiding of the belly, a slight condensing feeling around the pelvic floor. Inhaling all the way down to the base of the body, lifting, blossoming with the inhale, and then just subsiding, softening through the exhale. Let's continue moving or breathing to your own breathing pattern. You can invite the breath to be a little bit longer, a little bit fuller, guiding each breath to travel deep down into the base of the body. And you'll be able to feel the main effects of the breath around the lung area, of course, but as the diaphragm contracts, these abdominal muscles are a little bit squeezed, so the feeling of the breath can come all the way down into the pelvis, sometimes even down into the thighs. If you feel comfortable here, then you can remain in this pose. Otherwise, you can come into Shavasana position, your relaxation pose, with the feet a little wider than hip width, legs more or less straight and arms resting at the sides. And gently closing your eyes, or just softening your gaze, take your awareness inside. Just staying here for a few quiet moments. And you're welcome to stay here for as long as you wish to, or as long as you need to after the end of this video.